Hello, and welcome to MykonosFan's Hideout. You found me. I'm here in the Hideout. It's time for the second bi-monthly Q&A video where, surprise, I will answer questions. If you would like to ask me a question, something you think needs to be immortalized in a video, or you just want to hear me respond to it, if you're a Twitch sub of mine or a patron of mine, I have a channel in my Discord server called Questions Seeking Answers. And you can drop it in there and I will compile it into a compilation, and then put it onto my thing and I will answer it here. It's crazy how complicated this is. Also, if you don't want to give me money, frankly, you can just scroll down and ask it in the comments, and if it's a good enough question or something I want to talk about, I'll probably just answer it. You don't even need to give me money. Isn't that great? Okay, we have many today. So I'm just going to get into it for the March 2023 Q&A. I did not order these in a good order because the first one, honestly, this one, I think I could go on about this one. There is a 50-50 chance I say screw it and just separate this out into its own video, just because I could talk about this for a while. From AE Double, I know you don't like talking about Pokemon out loud, so I'm going to make you anyway. Pick your favorite games, Pokemon, types, characters, regions, stories, events, and gameplay additions, gimmicks. Basically just everything in the entire world. This one is a lot. I'm going to knock out the easy ones first. Types, I don't really have a preference. It's more so the Pokemon specifically, but if I had to pick an underdog, maybe I would say ice type. Ice type feels like water plus a lot of the time, and that ice is often slapped onto water types. There aren't, not that there aren't any, but I feel like ice type just doesn't get the love it deserves. Like, I don't feel like there's enough ice type Pokemon you point to and go, that one's really good, that one's really good, that one's really good. I feel like you kind of got to struggle a little more than you should. They've taken some steps to kind of improve the ice type a little bit with like Pokemon Legends Arceus. There's the Frostburn status effect now. Like it shows me they're kind of thinking about it at least. So hopefully in the future ice type gets better, but I'm just going to say ice type. It's an underdog. We should do something about ice type. Favorite games. Oh, okay. Pokemon Legends Arceus is one of them. That one has had a profound effect on me and my enjoyment of Pokemon. It's kind of put it back into the stratosphere. So that's one of them. Heart Gold, Soul Silver are an easy answer, but frankly, from announcement to release of Heart Gold and Soul Silver was like one of my favorite times I've ever been a Pokemon fan. I was just so excited and so happy playing through those games. Black and White also, to give another apparently typical these days answer. In my high school, I was the weirdo for liking Black and White. Like, I was watching my friends fall out of Pokemon, the more stuff that got shown about Pokemon Black and White, and I was like, I don't know guys, this looks great. And then I played it. It was like, I'm having a great time. Up until recently, Pokemon Black was like some of the most time I ever put into a Pokemon game. Like, I almost completed the in-game Pokédex in that, which is something I did not start doing again until like recent years. I really liked Black and White. Favorite Pokemon. This one is tough because there are like 1,000 plus now. And that's without even getting into like forums and things. I think something I need to do sometime is just sit down and go through like one of those rankings or like weighted ranking kind of systems people make, where it's just like, all right, pick which Pokemon you like, Deliberate or Dunsparce, you know, and you just pick, and then from there it shows you your favorites. Because like on paper, my favorite is Ampharos. I like Flaffy, Mareep, and Ampharos a whole lot. At least nostalgically, those are my favorites, but if I like sat down and actually looked at every single Pokemon, would I still be like, these are my favorites? You know what I mean? And like, they're still making Pokemon I really like a lot. Like Sirfetch'd is awesome, Phalanx is awesome. Frankly, Gen 8 had a lot of really cool new Pokemon and like additions to older Pokemon. But for now, I'm going to say Ampharos, and maybe we'll revisit this sometime. Favorite characters, I'm going to tie into stories and events. I liked a lot of Legends Arceus's cast. I thought they were fun to hang out with. I liked seeing those characters. But I feel that actually Scarlet and Violet took it a step further, to where there are less characters I like overall, but the few characters I really like. I think Clavel, the director of the school, is very funny in the classic he's a stoic goofball way. Arvin surprised me in that I thought he would just be kind of an annoying, pompous jerk, but then he turns out to actually be maybe the most likable character in Pokemon in years. I thought Nemona was a really cool rival in that she kind of already reached her peak and was looking around and was like, oh, I got too good and now I have to take it easy on everyone, and that kind of sucks. Oh, like I thought that was an interesting twist on the rival format. And then, you know, going through with those characters, plus Penny. I don't dislike Penny. Penny was just also kind of there for me. But going through to those characters to the end of the game, which I will not spoil, those final hours are probably some of my favorite Pokemon narrative, whatever word I'm looking for, ever. Like, the way it all... Scarlet and Violet spends most of its game meandering the way I'm meandering right now. But then at the end, it's like, all right, well, let's just actually tie everything together and go kind of batshit insane with the story. And then kind of have it work still. And then kind of leave mysteries that, like, I'm just sitting here like once a week wondering what's up with some things they touch on in the post game. They kind of look back at some of the things that happen at the end of the game. They're like, wait, that didn't really add up. I wonder what's with that. I'm like, oh, what is up with that? I hope the DLC answers it. But I'm really enjoying speculating on those specific things I don't want to spoil. So like that's really up there for me. For whatever you can say about Scarlet and Violet, I really, really, really liked the end of that game. Other narratively, it's hard to say because like I enjoy going through most Pokemon games. The story isn't often a reason why, but I would probably also shout out base Sun and Moon Sting with Lily and Lusamine. I thought it was so interesting for such a wide appeal aimed at kids story to tackle, oh, your mother is kind of bad and maybe shouldn't be redeemed, but I guess gets redeemed at the end. But like this character's mother is a terrible person. What the heck? She's like kind of irredeemably bad and awful and sees her children as objects. I thought that was very interesting, and I liked that they explored that. I don't remember what Ultra Sun and Moon did, but I heard it wasn't great. Favorite regions? Hisui is probably the one I enjoyed the most. Again, it's recent stuff with Pokemon that's really had me amped up. I really enjoyed just crawling around Hisui and being careful and just looking in every nook and cranny. But it also has stuff that I miss from older Pokemon games. Like if I had to pick a nostalgia pick, I do like going through Johto. Like I don't think it's a particularly amazing region, but I do like being in Johto, right? And I like being in Hoenn and how ridiculously tropical it is. I like that, you know, I really like that. So I'd probably some toss up there like Hisui, Johto, and Hoenn are probably my favorites. And favorite gameplay additions gimmicks. I was really hopeful for terastallizing, and so far in the raids it's kind of proving itself. Like there's a Samurott one coming up soon, at least when I'm recording this, and its Terra type is Bug. So it's a water type Pokemon, but when you've done enough damage to it in a raid, it snaps its fingers and becomes a Bug type, and it'll have the move Mega Horn because of course it will. But it's an interesting thing because you would think, all right, well, I need to bring fire types to a bug type raid, right? Oh, well, it's going to have a lot of water moves, so you can't really do that. Should I bring a flying type Pokemon since it'll be bug? Oh, it'll have ice beam, right? It'll have some ice moves. So what the heck do I bring to this thing to stay defensive against it and not have my Pokemon constantly die and drag down the timer every time they die, right? So I don't think it was used as well as I hoped it would be in the main game, because I think it is an interesting gimmick. The raids are kind of making it up for me, and that there's at least a lot of elements of like I have to think and then counter think about a lot of the Pokemon I'm going to use or train up for the raids. So I would have to put that up there. I can't think of anything else where I'm like, oh man, I'm really glad they did that. For the most part, I'm kind of still somehow hooked to the main formula, and that's apparently good enough for me. Actual just gameplay additions I'd maybe need to sit down and think about, but we talked about this enough. AW has another question. If you wanted to see RGD Studios, creators of Yakuza, tackle another licensed title like the Fist of the North Star game, which would you like to see? I thought about this one for a while, and I was like, And it kind of came to me in like a blur, but I was like, oh my god, an RGG Studios Bobobo game would be kind of ridiculous in the best way. Especially with Yakuza 7, I feel like they leaned into a really good style of humor that I'm not going to say is like Bobobo, but gives me confidence that they can make a game that's actually funny. And if they could push that even further and just go completely off the wall with something like Bobobo, that'd be cool. I think the brawling thing makes a lot of sense with Bobobo, right? Like just running around with him and all the other characters. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've thought about Bobobo, but if I had to pick one just to make them work on, I'd like to see how that turns out. I don't know if it would turn out very well, but I think it'd be interesting. So that's my pick. Dang it. What's the fusion name of MykonosFan and the Golden Bolt and their special ability combined? I think we turn into Regigigas, and then our special ability is Slow Start, where it takes us 5 turns to do anything. But once we get going, we're pretty good. But there's a while where we're just, you know, not doing anything. Next question is from AEW. Will you be my father? You might be younger, but I need people to take care of me. It's like the cycle, right? You know, you need raised, you go through your life, and then you have to take care of the ones who raised you, right? So you raised me, I guess. So, you know, I'll take care of you. Final question from AEW. What are your most and least favorite game genres? Ones you wished you could get into and those you never did, but thought about getting into. I have put on tunnel vision pretty effectively to block out things I'm not interested in for years now. I've gotten pretty good at it. So I'm not actually sure. Ones I wish I could get into. I can really sit down and lose myself for a few days in something like a Sims or a SimCity or an Age of Empires, right? These PC simulation games, I guess, generally is what I'm thinking about here. But the mountain to climb them sometimes, to learn all their systems and hotkeys and all that stuff, can be kind of daunting. So I usually fall back on old reliables like Impossible Creatures or Age of Empires 2, like things I'm just kind of used to and already learned, right? I wish I was better about trying new games in those genres because a lot of them look cool, but I just keep going back to the comforts on those, and I'd like to not be like this, but I keep being like this. So that's probably one. Most favorite game genres. I feel it's hard for me because game genres blend together a lot in the games I play. Like, I wouldn't call myself an open world game fan, but an open world games usually have a lot of action and adventure elements and RPG elements, sometimes for better, sometimes for worse, right? So I find I'm often playing those kinds of games, but I don't know if I'd say that genre is my favorite. But the confluence of a lot of things just kind of synthesize into something that does click for me. So that's a complicated question to answer. I'm not good at 2D platformers. My brain doesn't really click with them. I wish. That's one I actually wish I was just better about, because that's like a fundamental video game genre, is the 2D platformer, but they just don't work that well with my brain. Oh, I'm a bad gamer. Harry asks a great question. Because of my terrible attention span, the Yakuza games have never clicked for me. Do you have any advice on how to get into the series, or am I just a lost cause? This is a great question, because I have had Like a Dragon Ishin for about a month, and partly due to not having time for it, but partly just because my brain won't let me focus on it. I've only put like 8 hours into it, which, if you told me a few years ago that would be insane to me. I'd be like, oh my god, you finally got an Ishin remake, localization in English, and you've only put 8 hours into it over a month? Like, you didn't just forget the world for a week and just play 3,000 hours? But yeah, no, that is where I'm at right now. I even really like it. I look at it, I'm like, wow, this is fun, this is really cool and novel, and I'm really into it on paper, but my attention span just isn't letting me click with it. So in a way, I am right there with you right now. What I would say, I would probably recommend just, you know, the games are all on Game Pass or PlayStation Plus or whatever the hell they're on nowadays. I just keep trying a different one, you know. Don't worry about not being able to follow the story. They're mostly standalone enough for it to not matter. Just keep trying them, and maybe one will click and the rest will fall into place, you know? Or maybe you're just the lost cause. It's not for everyone. I can understand why people who don't like it don't like it. But I just keep shuffling through. You know, even like a Judgment may have a different appeal than like a Yakuza 0, right? So keep trying. You'll get there. Hopefully. If not, we won't judge you too much. A name I'm going to mispronounce probably. Let's say Figo. It could be Figo. Figo asks. I've never had to say your name out loud, sorry. What's the biggest gaming turnoff for you? A mechanic or something that makes you go, this isn't for me, I'm going to skip this. This has been a talking point lately, but it's one I've really resonated with. But going back to the open world games, and when I said for better or worse, some of the RPG stuff they implement, the more time I have to spend in a menu dealing with just a deluge of items and weapons with different ups and downs on numbers and color rarities and all this stuff, the less invested I get and the less I want to deal with it. Like, the more I have to think about a weapon in a menu these days, the less I want to play the game. Like, the most recent example for me, I was this is another game I really enjoyed. My attention span just wouldn't let me play, but I was trying Horizon Forbidden West on PS5 the other month, and it seems like a pretty great game, but anytime that weapon menu opens, or my inventory opens, and I see all those weapons and they all have different +8 attacks and +9 attacks, and this one does poison damage, but this one does more shock damage, and blah 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 blah. And like, broadly, generally those things are great, but you can get so lost in the weeds on so many weapons that only matter for so long that at a point it just does my head in. Like, I have a tolerance level for that, and that game is an example of one that I don't have a tolerance for, I guess, you know. It made me appreciative of when I played through like Dragon Quest 1 a few years back, and you go to a store, it's like, oh, that weapon costs more than this weapon and the number is higher, I'm going to buy that weapon and sell the old weapon. And that was kind of usually the most you had to think about it. It made me wax nostalgic for a game I'd recently played. So oh, sorry, Gabumon's hungry. 1 second. I'd say that's my main one though, especially because that one tends to crop up the most in games I do tend to fall into play. Like, again, for the most part, I have like my tunnel vision really tuned in. I will often not play something I don't think I'll like, which is great because it means when I do make the time for a game, I'm probably going to enjoy it. But it does mean that things I don't like creep in, and that is definitely one of them. For the most part, I can't really think of anything else. Like, I could sit here and say like loot boxes, right? Loot boxes are in Apex Legends, and I think that's kind of lame in a vacuum, but I don't have to think about them either, you know? There's nothing else really egregious that makes me put down a game, but maybe I just need to broaden my horizons to get a good answer to that question. The Crazy Even asks, what's a game that got you legit angry, or the closest to getting you legit angry for whatever reason, and it can't be Apex Legends? Going back to the tunnel vision thing again, you know, it's difficult, but sometimes one will come up, and it's the most innocuous one for me. Fucking Fall Guys. What a cutesy looking, happy-go-lucky, round video game full of bubblegum and pizza whistles and whistle snappers. But I swear, that game actually just made me upset. I wasn't like angry, but I was like, my time is being wasted through reasons that are either my fault or out of my hands. And I kind of don't like it either way, depending on whose fault it is. I just got so upset. I had victory clutched from me like 4 separate times in the few games I played. Like 4 different times of number 2 or number 3 or number 4. And just not being able to get the ending number 1 crown or whatever the hell you do in Fall Guys because of stupid nonsense like getting stuck on the edge of a corner on the way up or something else. And I'm just like, man, I shouldn't care, but I get angry and I don't know why I'm angry, and I don't like that I don't know why I'm angry. So I'm going to uninstall this game. I gave it a final go before I did. I was like, I'm gonna get at least one dub, one W, one chicken dinner, one victory royale. And I couldn't. And I was like, you know what? Life's too short. I'm just going to go disassociate and stare at my wall instead of playing Fall Guys. And then I did, and I had a better time. Golden48 asks, is there a franchise you wish people associated you more or less with? I'll also add the stipulation, you can't say Sonic, which is the golden bullet stipulation, because otherwise, man, that could be both answers. It's a difficult thing, not to say I have a big following, but there are people who follow me, like especially on like Twitter, right? And it's a double-edged sword because like I would love to say Digimon. I would like more people to think of me when they think of Digimon, I guess, if they had to think of something else other than me, which makes sense because when you do this, everything you do is derivative of something that's actually creative. So like, yeah, I would say Digimon, but then it's like, you know how it goes. Every time there's like a new Digimon thing, I'd have like 8 people on Twitter being like, yo, did you see this? And I'd be like, yeah, I follow a whole bunch of Digimon people. I saw it like a week ago. But you can't say that because then you look like a jerk, and you're kind of a jerk, actually. So you just kind of grin and go, oh, whoa. Or you just don't answer it, I guess. But at a point, it's like, it's kind of nice to just enjoy Digimon, and it sporadically comes up. Like you posted the Digimon Adventure 02 new movie trailer in my server, and I was like, oh, I actually didn't see this, and it was good. There's like the right amount of Digimon being brought up to me currently, but if more people associated me with Digimon, oh, I think I'd have to squirrel away my Digimon enjoyment. Less with, I think everything's just right now, thankfully. There was a time where I maybe would have said Spyro, but that ship sailed, thank goodness. Fuck Spyro. Speaking of, Star Caliburn asks, fuck video games. What's your favorite movie and TV show? I am very utilitarian with a lot of media, movie, TV show, music. They are things I have to make myself do. My brain just doesn't let me organically be like, I'm going to put on a show or I'm going to put on a movie. Like I have to like browbeat myself into like, I need to experience other forms of media. My attention span needs to let this happen. So it is rare that I am up to date with movies or TV shows, so my answers are really outdated, I noticed. I was like, oh man, Hot Fuzz is an awesome movie. That's been my favorite movie for like 10 years. Oh, that's a 2007 movie. Oh, God. It's a pretty good movie, though. I like it a lot. Every time I watch Hot Fuzz, I like it more than the last time I watched it. I still like Summer Wars a lot. That's still a favorite of mine for a lot of silly reasons, but I like it a lot. TV shows, I am eagerly awaiting season 6 of Better Call Saul to hit Netflix in a few weeks, which tells me that it is one of my favorite shows. I would still probably point to Arrested Development as my favorite, with the disclaimer that I don't remember season 4 and I never watched season 5 still. But I'd say that there was a time where my favorite movie was Up, but my Pixar fandom and fanaticism has waned quite a bit in recent years, let's say that. And then the last question here, Joey asks, what game's been sitting in your backlog for the longest? This is now if you put the context together of everything I've said in the last half hour or so, and how bad I am at doing anything I need to do, you can put 2 and 2 together on this one. Let me look at my games. I thought of it. I got Skies of Arcadia on Dreamcast for like $6 at a pawn shop, complete in box. I was so excited to get it. This must have been like 7 or 8 years ago now. I played up until this one boss. It's like a jelly monster, and it kept kicking my ass, so I stopped playing it. I meant to get back to it and, you know, level grind some or something, but I just didn't. I just didn't. And that ended my run of Skies of Arcadia. My attention span and the jelly boss. Can I find it? Let's see. It's Blagok the boss of the Valua Catacombs. And it's just this stupid slime monster. And I've heard there's another boss fight immediately after this one, which would make it fun, I guess, for me to finally get through that and then get stopped there again. But this is like the biggest albatross around my neck where I'm like, man, I was really enjoying Skies of Arcadia. I should really go back and finish that. It's a Sega classic. It's a Dreamcast classic. It's a game I was even enjoying. I just never went back to actually finish it. I'm sure there are more like technically from before Skies of Arcadia that I need to go play, but yeah, I bought or something on PSN and just didn't think about it ever again. But in terms of like the most egregious one for me, I would probably say it's Skies of Arcadia. Hopefully someday. I'm not hopeful it'll be soon, but hopefully someday. And that is every question. There are some memey ones I didn't really put in here. Ah, yes. Harry asks, who was playing me in Sonic 3? I would have to say Skylar King is playing me in Sonic the Hedgehog 3. It's his debut role in the series. Really excited for that. Harry also asks Sonic Shuffle or Mario Party 1. I've only played Sonic Shuffle, so as much as I hate to give this answer, I think I have to pick Sonic Shuffle. That feels fucked up. You know, Mario Party 1. Sight unseen, I like Mario Party 1 more. And yeah, that's every question. I had a apparently really dry throat here, so I'm sorry if this was a little trickier to listen to than usual, but we got through it. Very good questions. Thank you all for asking them. I will see you again at the end of May, I imagine, but I will have more things put on this channel soon. So I will see you sooner than end of May. But if you're only here for the cues, I'll see you then, I guess. All right. Bye-bye. Wow.